Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your planning outlook on Tuesday the 23rd of April. Now, the fine spell of weather that coincided very nicely with the Easter weekend is moving out of the way as low pressure draws its way across the British Isles. The days ahead then will be much more showery. They're more complicated as well in terms of getting the forecast detail, so want to stay closely up to date with your latest updates every single day. But expect some heavy bursts of rain and winds at times, gale force on the mountains, and even over the weekend the highest summits may drop close to or just below freezing point. We'll start with a look at temperatures, and this at 850 millibars again. That level has come back down to about 4,500 feet, so it gives us that useful steer for the temperatures on the very highest tops. Through Wednesday, it's around 3 or 4 degrees at that level. It's cooler than the double figures that we saw over the Easter weekend at least, but chillier air, even more than that, will come in over the days ahead to dip eventually back to freezing or even just below this onwards. Through Thursday, it's about 1 or 2 degrees on those highest Scottish tops. In England and Wales, more like 3 or 4 degrees on the highest summits. This then taking onwards into Friday, and you can see the tongue of chillier air that's coming in from the west, wrapped around frontal systems coming in from the Atlantic, and it's likely to dip just below freezing point then through Friday and onwards into Saturday as well. Freezing levels may dip as low as 1,000 metres for a time over the weekend. So some snow coming back down in the showers or the more organised bands of precipitation on the highest tops through this weekend. Some hail as well with the heavier bursts that may be around from time to time. And that cool pattern will take you through the weekend and into the start of next week before temperatures do just look as though they lift a little bit as indications just draw some milder southwesterly air in. But onwards to the very end of the month and the start of May, that chilly air is still in place, and some indications would try and draw something back around from the north. Eventually, this chart will tend to average that out quite a bit, but 1 or 2 recent model runs do draw a colder northerly in, at least for a few days next week. It'd be no great surprise because we've seen these sorts of fluctuations before, often a common pattern in the spring season, some warmth and then back to something chilly again. It's the variations of the time of year. Charts for the next few days then. Wednesday has got low pressure, a flabby area out towards the southwest of the country, but tight isobars towards the north of the country means gales across most of the Scottish mountains, a stable airflow which will give some very powerful gusts through the passes, through the cols to lower slopes in places across the Highlands, also gusty around a cold front across England and Wales. Now, essentially for Scotland, it's dry, although we've got low cloud coming in to the eastern highlands off the North Sea. We've got the risk, though, of some thunderstorms across the southern parts of the Pennines and across Wales during the day. It could all be very hit and miss, but locally may just organise themselves increasingly as the day goes on, pushing gradually northwards through Wales and up the Pennines with time. Thursday then is a messy chart. We've got low pressure anchored towards the west of us and fronts are pivoting northwards around that. Some bursts of rain may well run across Scotland from the south in the early hours of Thursday, tending to clear northwards, and the far north may get away with a reasonable day on Thursday. The wind not quite as strong compared to Wednesday. But elsewhere, bursts of rain are likely to develop once again, another front trying to push northwards. The detail, even at a day or so's notice, is very tricky. It could be that locally you get rain, heavy bursts, some thunder for a good few hours, but equally you could find you escape for a good few hours as well, substantially dry. So expect some rain, keep an eye on the very latest forecast is what I'd suggest. That rather messy story continues into Friday. It's something of a trough of low pressure broadly across the country, another feature trying to develop out to the west of us, something of a front that is draped from northwest to southeast, may give some organised rain into western Scotland, otherwise it's a story of slow-moving showers breaking out, those heavy with hail and thunder increasingly into the afternoon. The central eastern highlands, down the Pennines into the Peak District, probably the focus of those through into Friday afternoons. Wind light and variable, so any showers that form will move around only slowly. Now, what can we make of the weekend? Low confidence must be stressed at this stage, and you'd look at this chart and at face value we'd be quite optimistic with a ridge of high pressure trying to build, but that doesn't tell the entire story. This is just one model run, and it's probably the most optimistic. Some other indications would make far more of the low pressure system and the frontal system that is shown around France and the Low Countries. That could be much more developed, and if it is, it could be a broad centre of low pressure affecting much more of the British Isles, giving the risk of gales in places and some heavy rain, snow on the highest tops as we mentioned, showers, thundery with some hail around. It could be a poor day in some places, but as I said, at this distance I would really keep a close eye on the forecast. You can hope for an optimistic view like this one, but I'd just be prepared for one of those unsettled springtime days. It's a classic situation really at this time of year. Once things are quite slow moving, confidence more than a couple of days ahead really goes down, so it's not sitting on the fence, it's just being honest about what the weather machine does, and sometimes the best science that we've got isn't good enough to handle things a few days out. The overall message though as we go onwards into next week is that low pressure is nearby and further showers are likely. Temperatures varied but on the cool side compared to what we've just seen, and exactly where that centre of low pressure eventually parks itself will be critical in terms of the air mass that we see. Some indications draw down more of a north or northeasterly, at least for a time during next week. I think the broad scale centre of low pressure is always going to be somewhere near the British Isles, so it's a story of sunshine and showers, I suspect, for the closing days of April and even the early days of May. Possibly though, as we go just a couple of days into the month, that any chillier north or northeasterly could be replaced by a south or southwesterly as the next low pressure system over the Atlantic tries to edge in, so a lift of temperatures and maybe just ahead of that a build of pressure for something a bit drier. Overall then, I think for the week it's a mixture, and the main message I suppose is clearer air than what we've just seen, fresher air as well, with the source not having come out of the continent, not got the Saharan dust that we're seeing at the moment in some places, so the visibility away from any showers should be very good, the air almost seeming as though it's had a good wash through. A bit of spring cleaning then, you could say, in the atmosphere in the days ahead. Whatever your plans, I'd keep the waterproofs handy as we go through this weekend and beyond. Stay up to date with your local forecast every day with us at our website, and we'll update the video for you again on Friday. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.